The air in the high-end tourist districts, the luxury bars, and the crowded transit hubs of the global south is thick with an invisible, odorless ghost. This is the devil's breath. We are moving beyond the flesh override and entering the realm of the total bios wipe. Scopolamine, derived from the borrachero tree, is the ultimate neural hijack. It is a reagent that doesn't target your lungs or your skin. It targets the very seat of your sovereignty, your will. In the world of the devil's breath, there are no victims, only puppets. The Matrix has found a way to turn the human architect into an open-source terminal where any predator with a handful of powder can execute a full system command. This is the neural siege in its most terrifying form. Within seconds of exposure, whether through a blown puff of dust or a tainted drink, the user's executive function is uninstalled. This isn't a high, it's a format. The victim remains conscious, looks perfectly normal, and can carry on a conversation, but the self has been moved to a hidden partition. You are a biological machine with no root access to your own hardware. The predator becomes the temporary system administrator. If they tell you to walk to the ATM and withdraw your life savings, you do it. If they tell you to lead them to your home and help them pack your belongings into their truck, you do it with a smile. This is the hierarchy of the handler, where the human spirit is deleted, leaving behind only an obedient, walking shell. The visual rage of the devil's breath is the horror of the hidden glitch. You see our signature character in a clean, high-gloss white hockey mask, standing in a vibrant, sun-drenched plaza. Next to him is a user who looks completely functional, dressed in a sharp suit, holding a briefcase. But look closer. The user's eyes are waxy, the pupils dilated to the point of a system error, staring at nothing. They are currently handing the keys to their entire life to a stranger. The contrast is a psychological nightmare. The beautiful, bustling environment of a vacation paradise versus the cold, clinical erasure of the soul, occurring in broad daylight. The mask reflects the sun, documenting the precise moment a man becomes a piece of discarded hardware. If you find yourself in a strange room with no memory of how you arrived, if you look at your bank statements and see a total resource liquidation you don't remember authorizing, then the devil's breath has already executed. Your motherboard has been hacked. You must initiate a hard lockdown of your sensory perimeter. Descend into the description right now and secure your tactical instrument. My product is the only firewall capable of defragmenting your awareness and protecting your BIOS from the mind control reagent. Reclaim your master keys. For the elite few who refuse to be a puppet in a predator simulation, my main channel, IOXY3 Global, is the only terminal where we teach you how to build an unhackable will. I show you how to return the strength and the autonomy that the devil's breath has systematically deleted from your biography. This is where the architect learns to own his mind. The primal grounding of the scopolamine crisis is the loss of the apex will. In the animal kingdom, a creature that loses its agency is immediately consumed. By using the devil's breath, the predator bypasses the fight or flight response entirely. There is no struggle because there is no self left to struggle. The scent of the will delete, or rather the lack of it, is the smell of a trap that has already closed. You are watching a biological takeover where the user is downgraded to a bot programmed to cooperate in their own destruction. The invisible executioner has moved from the streets into the very chemistry of your decision-making process. The status bar of the individual sovereignty is at 0%. The devil's breath has successfully demonstrated that the human BIOS can be bypassed with a simple botanical reagent. The puppet architecture is complete. Every node in the plaza is a potential target for a full system override, and the invisible executioner is just waiting for the next user to blink. The neural hijack is archived. The future has been reformatted as a series of unauthorized transactions. The architect in the mask walks through the crowd, his will a hard override against the invisible dust, realizing that in a world of puppets, the only person who is free is the one who has locked his own BIOS from the inside. The most lethal component of the devil's breath is not just the compliance, it is the total memory wipe. This is the amnesia protocol. In the architecture of a standard crime, there is a witness, a memory, and a digital trail. But when scopolamine hits the motherboard, the user's brain stops recording data to the long-term hard drive. You are operating in a live stream only mode. Once the reagent wears off, the user wakes up in their own bed or on a park bench with a completely blank partition where the last 12 hours should be. This is the perfect crime. The Matrix has realized that you don't need to kill a witness if you can simply format their memory. This is a temporal hijack. The victim wakes up to find their financial BIOS liquidated, bank accounts drained, jewelry gone, apartment stripped, but they have no input data to provide to the authorities. They can't describe the handler, they can't remember the PIN codes they gave away, and they can't even remember the moment of infection. To the legal system, this is a system error with no evidence. The invisible executioner has turned the victim's own brain into a shredder. This is the ultimate tool for elite predation. It leaves the physical hardware intact but deletes the log files of the violation. The visual rage of the Amnesia Protocol is the morning after glitch. You see our signature character in the cracked hockey mask standing in a luxurious but completely empty penthouse apartment. Next to him is a node sitting on the floor, head in hands, staring at a stack of signed legal documents they don't recognize. The room is stripped of everything valuable, yet there are no signs of a struggle, no broken locks, no blood, no chaos. The contrast is a tactical horror. The physical environment remains clean, while the biological inhabitant has been wiped. The mask reflects the empty walls, documenting the total extraction of a life's resources without a single alarm being triggered. If you find gaps in your timeline, if you wake up surrounded by the wreckage of decisions you don't remember making, then the Amnesia Protocol has been executed on your hardware. Your past has been deleted to protect the predator's future. You must execute a hard backup of your life and surroundings immediately. Descend into the description right now and secure your tactical instrument. My product is the only firewall capable of defragmenting your awareness and preventing the memory overwrite. Reclaim your history. For those who refuse to be a blank page in the Matrix's ledger, my main channel, IOXY3 Global, is the only terminal where we teach you how to maintain a shadow log of your reality. I show you how to return the clarity and the continuity that the devil's breath has systematically erased. This is where the architect ensures his biography remains his own. The primal grounding of the amnesia crisis is the loss of the instinctual warning. Animals learn from threats they remember. By deleting the memory of the attack, the predator ensures that the user remains a viable target for future harvesting. The scent of the Amnesia Protocol is the smell of a cold reset, the clinical neutral air of a room where a life was just dismantled in silence. You are watching a cognitive format where the user is turned into a ghost in their own timeline, unable to defend against a threat they cannot even name. The status bar of the individual's history is at 0%. The devil's breath has successfully turned the human brain into a disposable drive. The amnesia architecture is complete. Every node in the city is walking around with a potential format command hidden in the air, and the invisible executioner is the only one who keeps the records. The perfect crime is archived. The future has been reformatted as a series of disconnected frames. The architect in the mask exits the empty penthouse, his presence a permanent record in a world of disappearing data, realizing that when memory is a luxury, the only person with power is the one who refuses to forget the nature of the enemy. The Matrix did not invent the devil's breath. It simply discovered a zero-day vulnerability in the botanical world. This is the botanical hacker. The borrachero tree, with its beautiful drooping white flowers, is not a decoration. It is a chemical factory producing high-grade scopolamine. In the architecture of the natural world, this was a defense mechanism, but in the hands of the invisible executioner, it has been co-opted as a tactical reagent, biological suppression. The Matrix has realized that you don't need a high-tech lab to delete a human spirit. You only need to harvest the code that nature already wrote. This is biopiracy at its most lethal. The Scopolamine script is a direct hack of the parasympathetic nervous system. It doesn't just bypass the will, it suppresses the identity BIOS. When the reagent enters the bloodstream, it blocks the neurotransmitters responsible for memory, decision-making, and self-preservation. You are literally being decompiled. The borrachero tree is a biological server that hosts the format command. The predators who use it are not chemists. They are script kiddies of the biological world, using an ancient, unpatched exploit to take root access over your body. The Matrix uses these natural nodes to ensure that no matter how high-tech your digital firewalls are, your biological hardware remains vulnerable to a handful of dust. The visual rage of the botanical hack is the deceptive beauty of the trap. You see our signature character in the clean, white hockey mask, standing beneath the heavy, bell-shaped flowers of a borrachero tree in a lush, tropical garden. The sun is shining through the leaves, creating a peaceful, high-resolution paradise. But on the ground, the fallen petals are being gathered and processed into a gray, lethal powder. The contrast is a tactical trauma. The organic, safe appearance of the plant versus the invisible executioner hidden in its chemistry. The mask reflects the white flowers, documenting the moment where nature is used as a weapon to format the human user. If you find yourself admiring the aesthetic of the hive without checking the source code, you are walking into the botanical hack. Your sensory BIOS is being distracted while the reagent is prepared. You must execute a hard perimeter scan of your environment. Descend into the description right now and secure your tactical instrument. My product is the only firewall capable of defragmenting your awareness awareness and protecting your hardware from these unlisted biological reagents. Reclaim your biological integrity. For those who refuse to be a user deleted by a flower, my main channel, AOXY3 Global, is the only terminal where we teach you how to recognize the hidden scripts of the matrix. I show you how to return the strength and the vigilance that the devil's breath has systematically targeted. This is where the architect learns to see the predator in the garden. The primal grounding of the botanical crisis is the betrayal of the earth. A predator that uses the environment to hide its presence is the most dangerous. By using a natural reagent, the matrix ensures that there is no digital signature to track. The scent of the botanical hacker, the cloying, sweet perfume of the flowers masking the dry, chalky taste of the powder, is the smell of a silent override. You are watching a molecular coup where the human BIOS is overthrown by a botanical script that has been running for millions of years, waiting for the invisible executioner to activate it. The status bar of the environmental safety is at 0%. The devil's breath has successfully integrated the natural world into the logistics of liquidation. The Borrachero protocol is complete. Every beautiful garden is a potential source code for your own deletion, and the invisible executioner is the only one who knows which flower holds the format command. The biohack is archived. The future has been reformatted as a series of natural disasters. The architect in the mask leaves the garden, his presence a hard override against the botanical trap, realizing that in a world where even the trees are hackers, the only safety is in the absolute sovereignty of your own BIOS. The devil's breath has evolved beyond a street-level threat. It is now a standardized vacuum industry. This is the architecture of resource extraction. The matrix has realized that killing a node is a waste of potential data and capital. It is much more efficient to leave the hardware running while you vacuum out every bit of value. This is a global business model where the human being is treated as a liquid asset. In the high-traffic sectors of the hive, airports, business hubs, and luxury nightlife, the invisible executioner operates with the precision of a bank auditor. They aren't looking for a fight. They are looking for root access to your financial and digital BIOS. This industry of the void is a tactical masterpiece of non-violent liquidation. Because the victim remains compliant and walks away with no memory, the economic status bar of the sector remains stable. There is no blood on the pavement to lower property values and no crime reports to trigger a hard lockdown by the authorities. The extraction is silent, clean, and total. The matrix has successfully monetized the will delete. We are seeing nodes who have been harvested multiple times, their lives systematically emptied by handlers who use scopolamine as a resource extraction script. The human is no longer a citizen or a user. They are a biological wallet waiting to be opened. The visual rage of the vacuum industry is the clinical coldness of the liquidation. You see our signature character in the high-gloss white hockey mask standing in a sleek glass and steel financial district. Behind him, a user is calmly handing over their high-end watch, their laptop, and their biometric data to a handler who looks like a professional consultant. The environment is pristine, hyper-modern, and safe. The contrast is a psychological hammer. The absolute architecture of success versus the total biological bankruptcy of the individual. The mask reflects the towering skyscrapers, documenting the moment where human sovereignty is traded for a handful of invisible dust in a five-star environment. If you find yourself in the high-resolution sectors of the hive and feel a sudden sense of systemic vulnerability, understand that the vacuum industry is active. Your resources are being scanned. You must execute a hard asset partition immediately. Descend into the description right now and secure your tactical instrument. My product is the only firewall capable of defragmenting your awareness and protecting your master keys from the extraction script. Reclaim your value. For those who refuse to be a liquid asset for the matrix, my main channel, AOXY3 Global, is the only terminal where we teach you how to build an unhackable personal economy. I show you how to return the strength and the autonomy that the vacuum industry has systematically evaporated. This is where the architect owns his worth. The primal grounding of the vacuum crisis is the hierarchy of the parasite. In nature, a parasite doesn't kill the host, it drains it until it is a hollow shell. By using the devil's breath, the invisible executioner has achieved a state of perfect parasitism. The scent of the vacuum industry, the smell of expensive leather, high-end cologne, and the dry metallic tang of a counting machine is the smell of a resource format. You are watching a global asset transfer where the user is the donor and the algorithm is the recipient. The human hardware is left behind, functioning but empty, a biological zero in the ledger of the hive. The status bar of the individual's worth is at 0%. The devil's breath has successfully turned the user into a disposable asset. The extraction architecture is complete. Every high-end sector is a potential vacuum zone, and the invisible executioner is the only one with the access code to your life. The resource hack is archived. The future has been reformatted as a series of empty accounts. The architect in the mask leaves the financial district, his will a hard lock against the extraction, realizing that in a world of parasites, the only person with value is the one who has encrypted his own existence from the outside. The devil's breath has executed its final command in the lower hive. But for the architect, this is the moment of the sovereign override. We are witnessing the failure of the puppet architecture. The Matrix has spent decades trying to convince you that your will is a luxury, a peripheral that can be detached and managed by the system. But the final log of the Scopolamine script reveals a critical flaw. The reagent can only suppress the BIOS of those who have already surrendered their internal firewalls. To survive the will delete, you must realize that your consciousness is not a gift. It is a fortress that requires constant active defense. The devil's breath is the ultimate test of your internal sovereignty. This is the hard partition of the spirit. The terminal reset from the Scopolamine hijack requires a total recoding of how you interact with the world. You are looking at the nodes who have been harvested and realizing that their vulnerability started with their social BIOS, their politeness, their trust in the neon illusion, and their inability to say no to the environment. The invisible executioner needs your cooperation to blow that dust in your face. The sovereign override is the installation of a permanent, high-frequency suspicion protocol. You no longer accept the default settings of the hive. You are the only root user of your nervous system. The devil's breath was designed to delete your biography while your body was still moving. If you can still feel the weight of your own decisions, if you can still look at the handlers and see the predators they are, then your master key hasn't been duplicated yet. You must execute the manual lockdown right now. Descend into the description immediately and secure your tactical instrument. My product is the only firewall capable of defragmenting your awareness and building a will buffer that no botanical reagent can breach. Reclaim your master keys. For the elite few who intend to lead the reclamation of the hive, my main channel, IOXY3 Global, is the only place where the true architecture of cognitive power is revealed. I show you how to find strength in the void and how to return the power that the devil's breath has systematically targeted. The puppet theater is on fire, and the architect is the one holding the torch. The visual rage of the sovereign override is the shattering of the mirror. You see our signature character in the reflective hockey mask standing in a crowded high-end terminal. A handler approaches with a concealed vial, ready to execute the will delete. But the architect doesn't wait for the script to run. He executes a hard disruption, a physical and psychological movement that breaks the predator's logic gate. The contrast is a tactical victory. The fluid, precise movements of the sovereign architect versus the clumsy, panicked reaction of the invisible executioner who has lost his root access. The mask gleams in the terminal lights, no longer reflecting the user but the master. The primal grounding of the final log is the return of the predatory focus. You can feel the air around you, scanning for the invisible reagent before it even leaves the bottle. You have uninstalled the compliance script that the Matrix spent years installing in your educational and social BIOS. The hierarchy has been re-established. The puppet is at the bottom, the handler is in the middle, and the architect is the system override at the top. The scent of the sovereign override, the smell of cold steel, rain-slicked asphalt, and the sharp electric charge of a mind that is fully awake is the smell of a species that has refused to be harvested. The status bar of the individual's autonomy is at 100%. The devil's breath has been archived as a system vulnerability that only the architects learned to patch. The puppet architecture is still running for the masses, a reminder of the cost of psychological inertia. But for you, the terminal reset has cleared the path for a new world. The architect in the mask walks out of the luxury terminal, his will a permanent firewall, his eyes sharp and his biography secure. The devil's breath has no power over a mind that has already chosen to be its own god. The screen fades to black, the archive is closed, and the sovereignty is complete.